All right, looks like we're on. So I want to welcome everybody. It is now 7 o'clock in the great state of Oregon, coming to you live from the Pacific Northwest. And I want to welcome all of you that are joining us from all over the United States. This is a super exciting topic, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to host this tonight, along with my incredible, smart little panelists that we've got going on. And we got one more panelist that's going to jump on in a couple minutes. That we'll be doing that. And so actually, hold on one second. So I want to welcome everybody again. So tonight's subject is going to be really exciting to me, because I know this is something that most people don't understand. They don't get it, and why is this so incredible? And so I am coming to you as far as the product line. I'm going to talk to you from the nutrition therapy side. And so I just want to welcome everybody. My name is Aimée Darling, and I want to welcome our first guest is going to be Teresa Powers, and then also Kristine Watters. Give me one more second, you guys. 1 second. I apologize. All right. I think we got our fourth panelist. Ta-da! And Megan Stufflebeam also coming to you. So Teresa Powers is out in South Carolina. We got Kristine Watters in Las Vegas. We got Megan Stufflebeam in Oregon with me. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is a really exciting subject. You're going to want to grab a pen and pencil. And if you are somebody that's considering using our products, or you're considering, wanting to amp up what you're trying to do with your athleticism, we're going to teach you a little bit about what an athlete needs tonight to really get to that maximum performance. And we're also going to teach you a little bit about really just a little bit about their stories and what's happening. And so I'm excited to learn just as much as you are. And so I'm going to actually go ahead and have our incredible woman, Kristine Watters. She is going to start our webinar tonight, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what she does for a living, and then why, what the athletic body needs. So Kristine, go ahead and take it away.
Hey y'all. So yeah, like Aimée said, I am a certified athletic trainer, and I work with professional athletes and professional dancers here in Las Vegas. And what I'm starting to see, and bring all the pieces of our ingredients together with Plexus and performance in terms of endurance or even quick bursts of energy, is how we all know that when there is a buildup of lactic acid after we have a heavy workout or a long run, or we've lifted more weights at the gym that day. And what I'm starting to see is that because Plexus Slim is helping us utilize our sugars better, the sugars are actually being broken down into carbon dioxide in water, which our body needs, instead of into lactic acid, which is where we often experience that soreness after working out. So for those people that are just getting back to working out, you may be noticing that you're able to do more faster because you don't have that soreness from the workout recovery. The other part of it comes into play with any overuse type injuries, and when our body is in balance and we don't have the inflammation coming from a possible yeast overgrowth, then there's not as much, or a tendency for the tissues to break down faster or go into overuse type injuries, because our body is more balanced and that inflammation is under control throughout the body, which is where the triplex in general comes into play.
So Kristine, you work with professional athletes, right?
Yes.
And they don't even have a clue at this level. None. And so I know in my practice, I'm a nutritionist, I see a lot of people that are just trying to get off the couch. And then I do work with athletes that are, doing something that's more intense. They're lifters, things like that. I'm looking at long-term. I'm looking at injuries. And it sounds to me like that's what you're talking about, that they're going to be more injury prone and they're going to have a shorter athletic lifespan. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, in terms of the chronic inflammation that leads for overuse injuries, as well as just an imbalance throughout the body.
Okay. So then that translates to what? Like, what's happening? What does that look like on a court?
When they're balanced body, or
off? Unbalanced.
When they're off balance, they're going to have more injuries. They're going to take longer to heal. They're not going to be as strong. They're not going to be as fast. Their endurance isn't going to be where it potentially could be. If they do get injured, it's probably going to be a more severe injury. It'll turn into a chronic overuse type injury, and it's going to take them longer to heal. So for a professional, that's money out of their pocket. they're not getting paid if they're not performing.
Right. And for the everyday mom or dad, that could look like, I hurt, I don't want to go again. I don't want to do anymore. And you really do need both sides of the coin for true optimum health, right? You need exercise, but you also need, diet. So, okay. Well, so I'm understanding, how the body is using energy. And I know for those of us that are geeky and those of you that are medical professionals that are on the webinar tonight, that you probably know what Kristine's talking about, but it's not mainstream knowledge. Can I add some information to that as far as the yeast issues?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so yeast is kind of my zone. So Kristine, I learned a ton from Kristine because she works with athletes. However, my zone is more the gut health. So I want you to kind of imagine in your mind, you've got your everyday person and they're not eating terribly. Maybe they're already an athlete. They're already somebody that's truly out there, swimming, biking, running. They're being consistent outside with their kids. They're moving their body and they're not eating a bunch of fast food garbage. Every person has a level of yeast in their body, and just the day-to-day blood sugar influx, the fluctuations, that's actually causing higher yeast amounts, amounts of yeast in your body. So one of the things Kristine and I were talking about is that when the body has a high amount of yeast, you may not know. Maybe you don't have, let's just name some nasty things. Maybe you don't have athlete's foot. Maybe you don't have jock itch. Maybe you don't have chronic thrush, or, you don't have eczema. You don't have any of those things. However, we tend to treat the symptoms in our United States, and we don't tend to go after the core. So what I'm finding with a lot of the people that I'm using these products with is that they didn't know they had an issue. They had a janky toenail. Maybe they were really performing well, they were doing well, they were eating well, but they weren't really doing what they even thought they could. And then when they start using the products, their system starts to clear up. The yeast numbers start to go down because they're not feeding the cravings because they're using Slim. They're killing that nasty yeast and repopulating their body because they're using ProBio 5, and they're shuttling all of that trash out of their body because of BioCleanse, which is adding more oxygenation to the red blood cells. And so as a person in the athletic world, what I have learned from Kristine is that so many people, they just take it for granted. They just work out. They don't know that they could be better. And better turns into higher athletic performance. Better also turns into faster recovery. And Kristine always tells me, the longer you're out, the more money you lose. And if you're a professional athlete, well, most of the people that are on this call or on this webinar tonight, they're not professional athletes. We're actually going to hear from Teresa and Megan. But what I really want to hammer home is the blood sugar connection is huge. And the way that the sugars, when the sugars in your body day to day, you may not be diabetic, but if you're not bringing that glucose into your muscles properly, they don't rebuild properly. You're not getting the nutrition as deeply as you could into your body. And when you couple that, so your insulin sensitivity is a little bit lower. And when you couple that with some yeast issues, and most of the athletic world that I've worked with in the last 8 years, their supplement stack is trash. It's just full of products that aren't helping their body to actually be its best. It's supplementing in a way that's kind of going over the top of what their body, it's kind of supplementing like a false leg. It's not really giving them what their body needs as a tool. And so what I would say to all of you is, as you look at what you're wanting to do with increasing your weight, increasing how far you can run, increasing whatever whatever your choice is, and you want to heal as quickly as you can, and increasing your insulin sensitivity, working with how your yeast numbers are, getting your yeast down, that's going to translate into a stronger, healthier body all around, but it's also going to translate to longevity. And don't we all agree that we don't want to just have you don't want to be 60 years old and you're done and you can't do it anymore because you're just so injury prone. And so that's where I would just say, let's remember that part of it, that it's key. And keeping the systems flowing allows inflammation to go down. Now, inflammation is necessary, but it's also can be, the too much inflammation is going to hurt the body. Okay, so just keeping those things in mind. keeping your yeast numbers down, keeping your blood sugar optimal. Even with diet and exercise, it's not as good what we're seeing. Even with diet exercise, it's not as good as what we're seeing with Slim, because you're increasing insulin sensitivity. And then, of course, keeping everything oxygenated and keeping your yeast numbers down. And so I would love to have two people that are from the field, from two very different sides, talk about their experience. And so, Teresa, do you want to start? You want to start for us tonight? Tell everybody who you are and explain this crazy stuff that you love to do.
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay? Because you were breaking up, but I don't know if it's my connection or...
I can hear you fine.
Okay, well, then I will just assume that everyone else can too. All right, so I wasn't always really into sports. I was always an active person, but I didn't really start running until college. And it wasn't even like for a team. It was just kind of recreationally. I mean, I'm not an Olympian by any stretch of the imagination. It's all kind of recreational for me, but and then after I got married, I started running a few races, and then that kind of turned into a half marathon, which turned into marathons. And then after I was pregnant and gave birth to the twins, I injured my SI joint. And my chiropractor recommended that I not run as much, which was devastating to me, of course, because that's what I really love to do, but suggested that I started biking and swimming, which was interesting to me because I have never swam ever in my life. So I experimented with a couple of little triathlons. This was like a year ago on essentially a mountain bike and a breaststroke. And I finished them. So I decided to keep training. And I actually started Plexus in probably, I think it was April, and it wasn't even for an athletic related reason, but that was the biggest difference that I saw initially, if that makes sense. I have always been a very big sugar eater. I didn't think that I was addicted to sugar, but I really liked sugar. And I was the kind of person that if I went on a 20-mile run, for example, I would come home and eat like Pop-Tarts. And then we would go out to dinner and I would have a big dessert because I kind of felt like I deserved it, if that makes sense, because I had done all this working out and I'm generally a healthy eater, but I did eat a lot of sugar. So interestingly, I was hesitant to start it because I was afraid. I'm not a huge fan of the word slim, I guess, because it seems like it's more of like a weight loss product. And the friend who introduced it to me was like, no, it's not. I promise it's not. So I was hesitant to start it at first because I wasn't trying to lose weight. But for me, it only took 3 days to notice that I wasn't craving as much sugar. And I could walk past a cupcake and not be like drooling. Or if I wanted one, I could have one or half of one, and that was enough. And that was really weird to me because I used to be the kind of person who would eat a cupcake and then want more, or like be going after the extra frosting or then go eat a cookie or whatever. Physically, Brian said, my husband, he started noting changes. I used the triplex, so I used the Slim and the ProBio and the BioCleanse. And then around the summertime, I actually increased the number of hours that I was working out. So when I was training for a marathon, I was probably working out 5 to 6 hours a week max.
All right, Teresa, hold on, you're breaking up. Megan and Kristine, is she breaking up?
I fell off, and now am I back?
You're back.
Yes.
You're back.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what happened. So
it's okay. It happens. It's electronics.
What's the last thing that you heard?
I heard, I don't know about you ladies, but I heard you were saying that you had started with the Slim specifically because, and I know it was because you had seasonal allergies, but
yes,
you weren't looking to lose weight, and then you were increasing your miles, and then what?
Yes. Okay. So I was increasing the number of hours that I was working out, but I was noticing that I actually had more energy, even though I was exercising more. I wasn't like craving a nap in the afternoon. And then over a period of a few months, I actually changed my diet to about 80–90% gluten-free, which I never would have been able to do before. And I've started eating. When I'm eating because I'm hungry, not because I'm like craving sugar or just want a snack. I mean, most of the time. But the biggest difference is that I did this Olympic distance triathlon last month, And, for me, whenever I would do a big race, I would always be sore the next day for like 2 or 3 days. And I thought this was just how it was. You work out hard, your muscles are sore. That's just how it goes. You take a couple days to recover, and then you start over again. So I did this race. It took me about 2.5 hours. And I really pushed for this 2.5 hours. And when I finished, I thought, man, I'm really going to be sore the next day. And I woke up the next day and I was not sore at all. And it was really bizarre to me because that had never happened to me before. So, and I've now started adding some longer runs in for a marathon that I'm training for. And even as I'm increasing my mileage, I'm not noticing nearly as much soreness as I used to.
Okay.
If any at all, really.
So now that you're hearing Kristine talk about the lactic acid and how, the whole ATP conversion, now you're understanding what blood sugar, what part blood sugar plays in your performance?
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense.
Most people don't care, right? There's people that are tuning in that are going to watch this later and they're like, who cares? Who cares? I just don't want to be sore. Who cares why it works? I just want it to make me feel better. And it does. But because we're kind of geeky people, we like to talk about the science. And I know we've got a lot of medical professionals on our webinar tonight that kind of want to know. But really, Teresa, the proof is in what you're doing. You are one of many people that are coming to the table and saying, I was working out before, and oh my gosh, we have a personal trainer on our team who's been working with the same group of people for over a year, lifting. And she has come back to us as a group and said they're lifting minimum 20 pounds more than they used to be able to. They're seeing increases in longevity and also weight totals. So it's not just your aerobic activity. It's also, your just the lifting, swimming. We're seeing it coming across the board that people are coming back and saying, this is happening.
I'm sorry. I forgot to mention that the other interesting thing is that because I've been able to make a better change in my diet, I've actually started seeing ab definition, which I had never had before, no matter how much I worked out. And people always said, well, your abs are in your nutrition. And I was like, whatever. I don't need that. It doesn't matter. But now that I'm starting to see it, it's like, hey, wow. So
I know.
That part is interesting too.
I didn't like you very much, but we'll go there later. So here's just to kind of help people think about this, because as I listen to Teresa, and I know that she wasn't eating trash. So when you take a person that's eating well, and then you cut out their cravings with a product that's helping balance their sugars, you increase the body's ability to have that oxygenation and all the trash removal, and you help address the inflammatory issue that she's going to have just from eating all that sugars, but she's also going to have because she's working out. Even a person that just goes to the gym, Monday, Wednesday, Friday spin class, they still are going to have inflammation. And so just keep in mind that each of those 3 components of the triplex are doing something amazing for the body, that regardless of if you're a person that's just kind of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday spin, or you're truly trying to go after something. And like Teresa just said, if you didn't hear her, she was kind of breaking up, that your abs are the nutrition. And that I watched her pictures. I was looking at her pictures the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh. So when you don't crave it, you don't eat it. And then her athleticism has increased even more. But really the proof, I think, more than anything, is when I talk to different athletes that are clients of mine that I've worked with diet and exercise for years, and talking to Kristine and the different clients she has, and we've been going back and forth about, oh my gosh, I've dickered with every natural supplement. I'll play with your diet. I'll do all kinds of things with your recovery with herbs, oils, everything. And I have never seen the body repair the way that Teresa is saying. And I personally, we increased our weights yesterday on my weightlifting with my husband, and I'm sore today, but I do know what I'm like, it's not crippling. Where before, Teresa, I don't know that the time was crazy. So, that's exciting. Is there anything else about this that you want to make sure you add? Okay, she's breaking up. I apologize.
I don't think so. I know my internet is being kind of goofy, so.
I
apologize for that.
Hearing.
I keep trying to move.
It's okay. It happens. It's electronic.
No, you're okay. Just keep going. I'm good.
All right. Well, we're going to move over to Megan. And just to take another perspective And we're seeing this in men too. I know I posted some pictures of men, and we have a lot of men that are really seeing good definition. And in the weight world, then when they start, cutting and they start reducing that fat layer to show the muscle definition, you're going to work hard to work out. You might as well be able to see what you're working for. And so there's pictures on our invitation to this webinar that you can see about men, and we'll have some men on our next one also. But Megan, tell everybody about you and the progression that you've seen with what you're doing as an athlete.
Okay, I'm Megan, and I am in Roseburg, also with Aimee, and I'm an esthetician here, so my history is a little bit different, and that's a whole nother subject, because we talked about just the amazing things that I'm seeing in skin just in general. But I'll kind of back up a little bit. Prior to being an esthetician, I worked for the Forest Service for about 11 years, and I worked in fire. So I was out in the in the field. I was working hard. I was exercising a ton, and so I wasn't a stranger to that. Unlike Teresa, I really did not like running, and so I had some injuries also when I was working for the Forest Service, a couple pretty significant ones that showed up later, and where I really started seeing those injuries surface was when I started my skincare business, because, where I went from basically working out all the time, working hard, being sore, packing, exercising, running. We ran a lot. Now I'm a little bit more sedentary, so a lot of those things started showing up. I was kind of having some back pain, and then I got pregnant with my daughter, and then they really started resurfacing as my body was changing, and some really significant back issues. I've had a previous shoulder injury, but I originally started Plexus for a couple of reasons. I had a loved one that I was concerned about the pain relief side of things. But I also was interested in losing a little bit of weight. And you've heard me say this before, that I basically realized after 5 years that the weight that I had, I could no longer call baby weight, because it's not baby weight after 5 years. So that was my original motivation. But similar, to a lot of people's stories, at that point, I know that I probably had some adrenal fatigue going on. I was so tired, exhausted. And so I also noticed pretty quickly within like 3 days that I was having more energy. I was feeling better. I just had not had the energy really to exercise. All I could do was basically, get home, spend a little time with my family, and go to sleep. And so as I started to see some of those improvements, like most people's stories, the weight loss part became less important. I was feeling better. I had more energy. I had the energy to start working out again. And I was never a runner. Basically, I was getting paid to exercise. And so running was out of necessity. And I started training for a half marathon with Aimee and a couple other folks. And I was realizing, like Teresa was saying, that I was not sore. And all of a sudden we're going from 3 miles to 5 miles, and I'm not sore. And then running 5 miles to 8 miles. And just being blown away by the fact that I just went from 5 miles to 8 miles. I mean, 5 miles was probably the longest I'd ever run. And I'm having this incredible muscle recovery, and I'm not sore, and I wasn't training extremely hard. And so I really had anticipated that I was going to see a lot of that soreness that I was used to, going on super long hikes, running and experiencing that. Now, mind you, this is over 10 years ago that I'm working for the Forest Service in my, mid-20s. And here I am close to 40. And just feeling like I truly am in the best shape that I have been in my life with less effort, I guess. And then starting to lift weight and noticing that I'm seeing, like, you know, was mentioned, more definition starting to happen. And then I guess as things kind of slow down, but I'm still doing a race here and there, and so I'm not training as hard. And then running basically a 10K once a week is all the running that I can get in right now, and I'm not sore the next day, and just absolutely, you know, being blown away by that. And so hearing Teresa's story and then hearing what Kristine is saying, it just absolutely makes complete sense what's going on in the body.
Yeah. Well, and Megan, is there anything else you want to add to that?
How's your shoulder feeling?
My shoulder is incredible, and that's another issue that I've dealt with off and on. I had a shoulder injury probably over 20 years ago almost now, and had arthroscopic surgery. And just probably when I first started with Plexus, I had started working out again because I'm feeling better, having more more energy. And I also had started taking a couple other products for pain relief, and one for nerve. I started taking the Nerve Health, and I woke up something in there, and it almost was debilitating. And so I backed off and kind of just continued on with my regimen. And I started back probably about 2 months later, and I have had virtually no pain in there. And I basically was dealing with some arthritic conditions in there. And I am back to lifting weights and just having hardly any issues.
Huge, huge. Well, so just to kind of, if the three of you need to say something, feel free to hop in. But just to kind of wrap up this thought, so basically here, it's all a matter of efficiency. And the less inflammation that you have in the body, the more efficient it can be. The more efficient that it can be, the more able it is to build muscle fiber, to keep things flowing in your body, so that you can then turn around and use your body in a way that's, you know, you're out running, biking, cycling, or even just getting off the couch. So what I always say to people is I want you to think about, like, yourself, how, you know, increasing your own athleticism, going after a bigger goal. But I also want you to think about the people that are around you that you know that don't want to start working out because they don't feel good and they don't want to do it because there's pain. And then I want you to think about who are the clients that you have, right? Because there's a lot of practitioners on here tonight. And who are the clients that you have that they have no clue? So if we can help your body with a product that's clean, that's dye-free, that does not have a fake sugar, that's simple to use, that you're not going to have to time everything in that ridiculous manner that nobody really has the time to be OCD about, and you can give somebody the best carrier ever is a drink. It's better than a pill, it's better than a bar, it's a drink. It's brilliant. And so if you can take the Slim, increase your insulin sensitivity, give your body the ability to pull the proper nutrition into the muscles, the glucose, the whole transfer, like Kristine is telling us about how the body then uses the energy through the mitochondria. If that's what's physically happening, then your body is able to better repair, which translates to you're not as tired, you sleep better, you're not as injury prone, you get to do what you like to do, more of it, and for a longer period of your life. And the bonus of that is that you're not sore or as sore as you were before. So if we can do that with something that's simple, that's efficient, that's quick, you're going to interrupt your body's desire to eat junk. Then you're going to even more, that's not English, you're going to take that level of health to an even better level, because now you're no longer feeding your body that junk and you're craving other things. Now, I will tell you, I know some juicing vegans that they're like the epitome of raw food type people, and they have loved adding this because they're already eating well. So if you're a person that's not eating well, it's going to take a little bit more time. But if you're already eating well and you're exercising, so you're now interrupting the issue, you're increasing your sensitivity, you're changing the way your body is using its energy so that it can more efficiently rebuild the muscle, you're reducing the inflammation that you have in the body so that you can more efficiently heal for long term without the injury or less injuries. You're reducing the desire to eat the junk, so then you're reducing the desire, or you're reducing the feeding of the yeast. The yeast begins to go down, the immune system goes up, and you're even more efficient to get rid of all the trash that you don't need in your body. That's what we're doing, okay? And that is unheard of in the market. Most of the products on the market are very dirty, right? 90+%, I would have to say, is they're dirty products. They have sucralose, dye, other junk, and they're causing all the opposite to happen in the body in the name of health, right? Some of the worst supplement people I know are the people that are athletes and they care the most about how their body is their body, okay? So I just want you to think about those things. So all those things are happening, and then what are we seeing? The proof is in the very real bodies of not just Teresa, not just Megan, not just what Kristine's seen, not just what I've seen in my own personal body, but it's huge across the board in people that are experiencing this. And so I just want you to think on that and think on really what could your body do. It's amazing, but what could it do? What level could it go to? And Teresa, how excited, and I know Megan, you are excited because you're not roping me into that marathon, but think about how excited are you to see how much further you can push your body.
Oh, I'm trying for a big marathon PR in January, so I'm excited to see what happens. And I think that if we both eat at we can get you to do a marathon one day.
Not doing it. I refuse to train that much. Not doing it. Kristine, it's all you. I'm not doing it.
About it.
All right, you guys. Well, Megan, I just thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for adding your story. And I honestly, the proof is in the stories. Real people with real results that are making a huge difference in personal goals. And, you know, as moms, right, as entrepreneurs, as business people, I am all about getting that next level of, I'm not in competition. I'm not trying to be better than the next woman. I want to see how far I can take this body that used to be so sick and so sugar craved, right? Gone. Love it. Love Plexus. All right, you guys, we'll have a great week. If this is recorded, I'll get it up. And I'm just excited. Have a great week, you guys. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for tuning in. Go Plexus.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.